This is my heart for ministry, and I guess it kind of starts with my testimony, right? So when I was a child, my parents didn't go to church. The only thing I knew about church from the time I was real little all the way up until I was in college was that my parents would drop me off at my grandmother's house on Saturday. I would spend the night with my grandmother. And then I'd go to church on Sunday morning with her. She'd drop me off to Sunday school. Then I would go to big church. We sat in the 4th row from the stage looking out. It would have been on the left-hand side. Every week we had assigned seats. We were Southern Baptist. That's quite fine. And that was what I knew about church. Every once in a while we did Wednesday night services. And so on Wednesday nights, every once in a while she'd take me with her. So I participated in some children's programs on Wednesday nights here and there as often as I could because my parents didn't go, which means I had to go to my grandmother's to be able to do that. In about the 4th grade, I made a decision in Sunday school to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And I was baptized, and I got really excited. My parents didn't understand it because they weren't Christian, but they would let my excitement just kind of, they didn't push against it. They supported it, but they weren't involved in it. And that was great. Until about 9th grade. In 9th grade, my grandmother died. At that point, I was old enough that if I wanted to go to church, I could have, but I didn't want to go. And I think this is where my heart for ministry comes from. What I remember as a kid. I remember looking back now. Well, some of it is I remember what it felt like then. Some of it now I'll reflect and I'll look back at it and the two things will kind of blend, okay? I remember going and engaging with the other kids, but never being really invited into the things that the families were doing because my parents weren't there. If my parents would have been there and would have been friends with some of the other kids' parents, I probably would have been included, but my parents weren't. And so it was just me. So when they were out having all these conversations about what they did the night before or over the weekend or what they all hung out with in Sunday school with the kids, and they all knew each other and they were all going together, I had no real connection to that at all. I was just kind of there. I remember kind of being talked to a little harshly by a couple of church members at points. Whether or not it was justified or not, I don't remember that part. I just remember the conversations and feeling like they knew that I didn't think I should be there. They didn't think I should be there. And so it was very standoffish. And so when they finally got to the point that my grandmother passed, I had no real reason to want to really keep going to church. In essence, I was looked at as the outside kid who was just there as a tag along with grandma. And now looking back at that, I remember not only was I the grandkid that tagged along with grandma without parents, we were also the poor people. I remember going to my grandmother's house and eating mayonnaise sandwiches. I didn't know no different at the time. Looking at it now, I do. I get it now. I know what that was from. It's because she didn't have no money. I remember sleeping in a twin bed in her bedroom with a roach that run across the top of it. And looking at it now, I really can take that whole in reflection and go, it wasn't just that my parents weren't there. It was also the fact that I didn't have anything. I didn't come from anything. And the way that it was looked at, I was more of a burden or a hindrance. It's the way I felt. Thank God my parents, when I was in college, somehow they got hit with the Jesus stick. They get hit with the Jesus stick, and all of a sudden now they're going to this same church.